Psychology podcast with me, Shakaila Forbes Bell, your favorite fashion, beauty, retail psychologist. And here, as you know, we don't just talk about the superficial nature of fashion and style. We get into the nitty gritty. We talk about the meaning, the value, its impact on your well-being, and so much more. As you will know, if you follow our platform, Fashion is Psychology. Today, I have an amazing guest with me. Her name is Corinne Rhines. Now, let me get a bit into it, Corinne, before I talk about her amazing pieces, which I'm wearing today. So Corinne is the founder of Collection by Rin. It's a unique handcrafted jewellery brand that aims to empower individuals to stand out and embrace their boldness. Very bold designs. The jewellery is meticulously designed and crafted with attention to detail, ensuring that each piece is a work of art. She aims to inspire and uplift her customers, helping them to embrace their uniqueness and express their personal style with confidence, as Corinne believes everyone deserves to feel empowered and stand out, and her handcrafted jewellery is designed to do just that. Thank you so much for joining us, Corinne. How are you? How have you been?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited to be on today. I'm doing excellent.
Thank you so much again for joining us. And like I mentioned, I am wearing a Collection by Rin exclusive. If you'll notice, there's similarities between my earrings and a book that you know and love. So I'm excited to announce that we, Fashion is Psychology, have partnered with Corinne to create these one-of-a-kind big dress energy earrings. They look so amazing, Corinne. Thank you so much for doing this with us. So these will be part of a competition that we will be announcing when we release season 2. So maybe by the time that this comes out, we might already have a winner, or we might still be in the process. But either way, this is a one-of-a-kind piece, right? And if you are someone who likes to match with your books, which I think should be a trend that comes into style, you definitely want to get your hands on these. So thank you so much. Can you tell us maybe a bit more insight into the process of creating these? Because we kind of let you like go wild and go crazy with whatever you wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I knew I could take like a literal approach, or it could be more interpretive. But honestly, I thought the book was designed so well, and the colors really popped that I was like, I have Nike in mind to kind of like match that. And yeah, I mean, the boomerang studs are a bestseller, and they're like the most unique shape, and so I think they're extremely bold, so that goes right with the content of the book. So.
Oh, thank you so much. I can't wait to wear these out. Like, I just absolutely love them. They've been such a favorite when I've been wearing them around the house. I've got loads of compliments from my family. So let's start our things off with a question that we ask all of our guests. So what does big dress energy mean to you?
Yeah, big dress energy to me means being bold, unapologetic, unafraid to be yourself, whoever, whatever that is, just really living in who you are and embracing that, and just, yeah, just living out loud, not really thinking about those outside opinions or what other people think, just doing what feels good to you.
And I love when you talk about being bold and living out loud, because we spoke about this personally, about your decision to start Collection by Rin. But maybe for people who don't know a bit about your background, like, can you tell us about what drove you to be in this creative field and create this jewelry line?
Yeah, I started the idea started formulating actually when I was leaving college. I was in this place where I felt like who I was and what was being communicated to the world wasn't matching up with what I felt I was, and how I felt like creative and like an artist, and I didn't think that the world saw that. So I started searching for mediums to really bring that out of myself, and to yeah, be bold myself and just be authentic to who I am. And I did a couple things, but ultimately jewelry stuck with me because I've always loved fashion. I've always loved creating, and just the fact that you can wear it on the outside and it's this piece that's on your ears, like, speaks volumes. I felt that was the best way to get a message across for myself, and then for others as well.
That's amazing. And that's such a big part of fashion psychology, letting your clothes, your jewelry, your makeup, your hair speak for you. So it takes off some of the pressure, right? You can just let your clothes do the talking. And especially when you do the work to match them up to your personality, they can be helpful in expressing who you are.
Yes, definitely.
Mhm. So let's get more into the science part. So a lot of people ask us about the psychology of jewelry, and one piece of research that really speaks out to me is the ones that talks about jewelry potentially being a transitional object. So almost like a comfort blanket or like a lucky pair of pants or something, like a transitional object. It acts as a source of comfort and it soothes you and it can help you like get through difficult times and go to more happier times. Like, it does this ring true for you when it comes to jewelry?
Yes, certainly. I can definitely say there's a few pieces in my jewelry box that are just like I wear for comfort. There's a few necklaces, one for my grandma, one from my
Oh,
fiance. Like I wear those and I feel like I have them with me. So certainly I definitely think that it can comfort you and just like when you wear it, you feel like you have them with you. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. I love that. And I think even with these earrings, they're obviously very important to me. Like, it reminds me of my work and my book. But I always speak about this necklace I got from ASOS when I was like in high school. And it said, "You don't worry, be happy," based off the song. And I wore that until it absolutely was completely tattered. And it wasn't just for fashion. Yeah, it looked cool, but it was something that helped, get me through the day and in my hard life as a teenager. Like, just like get me through. And I think that's so powerful. And I think a lot of people have that relationship with jewelry, like you said, from your family, your partner. Like, jewelry seems something that's a bit more like unique to the individual, even though it can be mass produced as well. It's still something that, is quite symbolic. And just in that line, I want you to maybe discuss with us the process of making your pieces. Like, how does each piece of jewelry start its life? Like, how is it born?
Yeah, I there's a few different ways, honestly, that these earrings come into the world. I think I'm very inspired by my environment, and by that, I think I'm very moved by how I also feel. So I think a lot of times traveling, I see a bunch of new things. I love looking at art or sculptures. And then on top of that, I'm in my best mood when I'm traveling, and I feel like that triggers my creativity. So oftentimes I'll come back from a trip and I'll start just sketching or just start with a material like clay and just kind of just start working with it and then come up with a style and then modify it. There's other times where it's like more intentional. I have my iPad and I use the
Mhm.
Procreate app on there, and I'm always drawing things out and seeing how they look. And oftentimes it looks like it should be a painting, but I feel like that's when I know that is the earring is like that's correct collection by Rin. Because a lot of my pieces, I know people are always confused if I do markets. They're like, "Oh, is it a paperweight? Is it a magnet?" No, they're
Yeah.
earrings. And
Yeah.
they're super old and unique. So yeah, I mean, I'm just very motivated by what's going on in here, and even when I'm not like feeling my best, I think that too comes through in what I create. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm always looking to just like do something out there, and I think that's a
Hmm.
manifestation of just yeah, inside of me, I'm looking to just like stand out in like the best way possible, not in a like
Yeah.
obnoxious way, but yeah,
Yeah.
just bringing through the boldness, the courage, creativity in me.
I think that's so beautiful. And I loved how you spoke about like what's in here coming out in your work, because that is psychology, right? Like, bringing parts of yourself, understanding your mood and how you're feeling and how that's impacting on your work. Can you just like elaborate that on a bit? Um, Maybe speaking about any examples or times that you've had when you've noticed like the way that you're feeling having a direct impact on the work that you're producing.
Yeah, I think let me think. Yeah, so
Hmm.
I'm a big Pinterest girl. I'm a big Rihanna
Hmm.
girl. So I think those put together, like I often feel sometimes like I want to be that girl. Like I want to be like I'm looking for a way to make myself feel confident and like sexy, and so I think
Hmm.
when I'm in that space, the earrings that I create they're very bright in colors, um, and I think I like when I think of Rihanna, she's very like she's very out there, very confident. Oftentimes she'll
Hmm.
wear something on the runway that on the runway looks terrible, but she puts it on. It's just like it's amazing. So
Yeah.
I often think of like, yeah, I think of her style. I think of, um, yeah, I feel that's my way of like creating something that's going to make me feel that kind of edgy, like fierce kind of way. And I think the
Hmm.
bows I'm wearing today are also a manifestation of that. Really feeling like I'm the prize, like this whole thing is a gift, and I'm topping it off with a bow. And I think bows in general, yeah, you just think of like gifts, and so I wanted to put that on myself.
I hope everybody was paying attention to that. Corinne is literally showing everybody that she is the gift, she is the prize. And I love that your jewelry takes that beautiful like piece of self-expression and makes it so outward and external so everybody can see it, and it really does translate through with your work. I think that that's beautiful. And then that is really enclosed cognition, which is a theory in fashion psychology that we've talked about before in this podcast, which basically means like the meanings and values that you ascribe to a piece of jewelry or an item of clothing. When you wear it, you embody that. So you talked about Rihanna, who you associate with like, fierceness, confidence. You put that into your jewelry, into your design. And then when you wear it, you feel like that. You feel like the prize. And I just think that's beautiful how you can see that in your design as well. And I think that leads us to our next question, which is great. It's about like, how do you want women to feel when they're wearing your jewelry?
Yeah, I want women to feel I want them to feel like they are their best selves. Um, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that automatically will come out, when you feel confident, your best self, whatever that is, whatever that looks like, will come out. And I want them to feel seen, and not in a way of like, looking for attention, but seen in the way that you want to be seen. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that kind of goes back to why I started it. I wanted to be seen as this creative, artsy, fashionista girl, versus what I was kind of headed in coming out of
Yeah.
college. And yeah, I want them to feel like the like an individual, and the uniqueness about them is coming out,
Yes.
is apparent in the style and choice of earrings that they wear. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I just want to feel good.
Oh, that's so brilliant. And speaking about like how you want other people to feel. So in my last podcast episode, I was speaking to two amazing entrepreneurs. Daniel Peters, he created the Fashion Minority Report, and Deborah Toney, so she created Black Girls in Fashion. And I think I asked them a question they found pretty challenging, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs find, which is like, how do you feel like in the process of creating? I think a lot of the times creative, you're doing right, and you're doing this all yourself. So you're doing the creating, the marketing, the packaging. I know you're working so hard. So how do you feel in creating this business? And also when you're having difficult times, how are you managing your own well-being?
Yeah. It's so funny. My sister asked me the same thing. I yeah, I you asked the first question you asked about is how I feel when I'm making these things. Yeah,
Yes.
I it's I'll be honest, as an entrepreneur, I think sometimes it's a balance of like, being a seller and like a marketer versus like staying true to why you started it. And I often find myself kind of like swaying, and I think I just, to ground myself, I'm just remembering that I started the art without the idea of like, oh, someone's going to buy it, but I started it because, yeah, it was for me to bring forth what was in me. And so I think sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes when I am operating and I am creating, I have to check myself, because I know that I'm sometimes have the end goal in mind of like, what will others think, or even
Mm.
getting too caught up in like marketing the product versus staying true to the community I'm trying to create, and the reason why I'm making the product, not just trying to get out there. So when I do when I am on that really marketing side, and I don't quite feel that great. And I think I remind myself
Mm.
why I started, and then I do get back to that good feeling. And also, I think it's more authentic, and I think it delivers a lot better. So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, yeah, it's really hard, especially as someone who's like doing it all. I think it's you're more likely to, end up in that kind of back and forth sway.
Oh, that's brilliant. And I think it's important to do that self-reflection and understanding like, yeah, you don't like certain parts of it, and that's okay as well. And it encourages you to lean into the parts you like and to give yourself less of a hard time when you're doing the bits that you don't like. And I think that's so important for any entrepreneurs hearing this. Like, you don't have to love everything, but as long as you like show up and you do the work, that's what's so important. And I want to talk a bit more about the Collection by Rin customer, because something I've noticed, like with my work with fashion psychology, I always thought I'd be speaking to people like me. But then doing a bit of digging and insights into my work, like I found I have men as well who are really interested in the work and the research, as well as like very like older women, like mature women who are in like a crossroads in their life and they want to find out how to find themselves through their wardrobe. And I love that. And I think fashion is so inclusive in that way. It can connect loads of people. Like, what have you learned, like, in the time that you've created Collection by Rin, about who your kind of typical consumer is? What are they like?
Yeah, I think you mentioned kind of on the older side as well. I do have some customers that I don't want to phrase it as old, but they are maybe a little bit outside of my target.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do notice that they are drawn to the earrings a lot. So I'm speaking more like
Yeah.
I guess 50 plus, maybe like yeah, like
Mm.
in their 50s, um, and that yeah, I didn't intend that. Of course, I had a target in mind just so that I could stay focused on that, but. I love
Yeah.
that. I think, I'm here for everyone, feeling confident wearing things that make them feel great. And I think people of all ages need that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's one thing I would say was shocking to me, I guess, a little bit. And then I do think, I like to work with people who are already fashionistas, I would say. And I
Mhm.
think that they can truly bring to life the earrings. But I
Yes.
also still have a large chunk of customers who maybe they're not in the fashion sphere yet, or they're not necessarily, I guess, like, uh, they're not so much showing, like, sharing their style or something like that, like an influencer, I guess. And I did have
Mm-hmm.
one person send me a picture of her in the earrings.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I loved it. And she wore it on her birthday, and that just made me feel good because like
Oh.
this is for the every in addition to being for the already fashionable, this is also for
Mhm.
the girl, the person that is like, I want to feel a certain way, just like me when I was starting out. So yeah,
Yes.
I will say I have a few little hats for customers, I would say.
I love that. And even like speaking back to the maybe more mature older women, I think it reminds me of a study that I read that said how we choose to style and dress ourselves is very much to like how we feel about ourselves and if we found who we really are. And because a lot of older women, older people, they've done the work to figure out who they are and what they like, they're not so afraid to hide behind like very maybe minimalist, like simple styles. They're ready to be bold and to be brave. So maybe that's why they're drawn to your pieces and the fashionistas as well. But I'm sure there's a lot of women who, even people in general actually, who have their ears pierced, who look at your jewelry and think, oh, I love that, but I'm too scared. I'm not brave enough to wear that. Maybe do you have any advice that you could give those people? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people who see these cool designs and they think, oh, I'm not cool enough for that.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, like that was me. But I would just say take baby steps. And baby steps because buy the earrings, right? Maybe you don't wear it
Mm-hmm.
immediately, but take baby steps, match it with an outfit you feel confident in, and then just put them on
Hmm.
and at least just wear them around the house for a bit and see how you feel. And I say that just because I think even when I'm like, I want to shrink and I put on a pair of my earrings, it's almost like I can't shrink when they're so big.
Yeah.
They're a conversation
Mhm.
starter, you know,
Yeah.
like that's also going to help you to feel like, okay, come out of your shell a little bit, because you can't shrink when you wear these. You'd have to take them off, unfortunately. But so I think like just take it slow, wear them around the house, wear them, around your family or
Mm.
your, and I think
Yeah.
you may start to see that like it feels good as well for people um to see you wearing this, and they kind of start to form these ideas about you as well. I think they're mostly positive ideas.
Yes.
And yeah, I think you'll come to find like, oh, I can step out of my shell, and I can be confident and bold. um and I have a whole array of statement earrings, different sizes, and so start with the one, if you want to start like one that's not super big or a bold color. But start, yeah, just start.
See, I think that's great. You don't have to be like me and Corinne and just go all out. You can do your baby steps. And I think that's such a great piece of advice you said about just wearing it around the house. I feel like people have forgotten how to play dress up. Like we all stopped when we were kids, and you don't realize that you can still do that. Like listen to Corinne, like get used to something, like allow yourself to feel comfortable in it. And I think it's true that your clothes and your jewelry, yes, they can reflect who you are, but they can help you get to that different side of you, that more bold, extravagant side to you. And like you said, it can be a conversation starter. Have you ever actually had a moment where someone has come up to you because of your earrings? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I was just in the
Yeah.
elevator the other day, and sometimes you're in the
Hmm.
elevator and you don't talk to anyone. But it was a
Yeah.
guy, and like I was wearing these, they're available in black, so I was wearing the black pair, and he was like, "Oh
Hmm.
my gosh, your earrings! I've never seen like big bows on someone's ear." It's like, and then he was like, "Oh, so my sister's like, oh, and she made them, because
Oh,
she's my hype man." And so
yes.
yeah, and he was like, that was gonna be the next question I was gonna ask, because I was like, wow, that you must be like a designer or something. And I was like, boom.
Yeah.
Like that's, yeah, I want that to come through, that I'm a designer. But certainly it's like in spaces that maybe you wouldn't start a conversation or talk to anyone, um,
Yeah.
someone will talk to you about your earrings. And I think it's like a safe ground to talk about your earrings. But I have a billion
Yes.
of those stories, honestly.
And I think people don't realize that your clothes and accessories, they are a networking tool. Like you said, like you met this guy in the elevator. You don't, okay, he was a regular guy, but you don't know who he could have worked for. He could have worked for, I don't know, like Saks or Walmart. Like you don't know, like, and we cross people all the time in our lives. And it's important to like, sometimes it's hard to go up to people. It's important to know that there are different tools in your arsenal, and your clothes and accessories are one of them. Like, anything that can attract positive attention to you is so useful, and I think your earrings just provide like such a good gateway for that.
Yeah, definitely.
um and talking more about jewelry, so do you have like a very significant or favorite piece of jewelry? It might be so hard for you to pick, but something that you've made. Okay, I'm going to make it harder. A piece that you've made that's your favorite, and then a piece that you've bought or received that's your favorite. Tell us about them both separately and the story behind them and how they make you feel.
Yeah, okay. So I would say the boomerang studs, kind of like what you're wearing, exactly what
Yeah.
you're wearing. Those to
Maybe
me,
describe them a bit for people that are listening audio only.
yeah. Okay, so the boomerang studs, they're not exactly shaped like a boomerang, but
Mhm,
they kind of gave me that vibe once I made them. So I named them after I made them.
mhm,
But they're a nice kind of abstract shape.
mhm.
And they come in a few different colors. They're bold and they have a shiny coating on top. But
Lovely.
they're definitely an eye catcher, and they're definitely big. And I think they have a lot of surface space, so you can do a lot with them. Um, that's kind of like me speaking to what I'm going to do with them. But those I would say have a lot of meaning to me, because those were like the first big earrings that I made. And it actually started
Mm.
with like I was just, drawing on my iPad, and I was drawing like a girl and everything, and I wanted to give her a pair of earrings. And then later I was like, that's actually super cute. Let me see if I can bring them to life. And when I did, I remember, the people that I like showed, like, I showed my partner, I showed my dad, I showed like my sister, and they're like, whoa, like they were very kind of confused because they were very big, just like, what is this shape?
Yeah.
But and I just proceeded with it. I was like, I love it, and I kept going. And honestly, they're like a bestseller. And yeah,
Yeah.
so I feel like that was kind of my gateway into just doing both things that I liked, and no matter if anyone else was confused about it. So that holds a lot of
Mhm.
meaning to me. And then I think a piece that I did make would be a necklace that my fiance got me for a Valentine's Day a couple years back, and it has like my name
Yeah.
on it, and it has the date, and it's like Happy Valentine's Day. And so yeah, I love to wear that. It's kind of a simple piece, but it has
Mhm.
an actual message inscribed. It has the date. And so it holds a lot of meaning for me. And yeah, I have him with me whenever I wear it. So yeah,
Mm.
that's one that really means a lot to me. And yeah, I mean, just to add to that, like I think when I was growing up, when I thought of like, oh, a gift from like a partner or a boyfriend,
Yeah.
I thought of like a necklace, like a piece of jewelry, and you'd always see that in the movies. So for me, like
Yeah. Like
that's
Pretty
mine.
Woman and the necklace.
Yeah, so I always think of that. And yeah,
Oh, that's so brilliant. And I love that. And I want to ask you as well, like, it's so interesting, like jewelry, it can be like very, like you can wear the same pieces as someone else. Like they're mass produced oftentimes. I know you are very like bespoke with your jewelry, but they can be like mass produced in the same way that clothes are, but people just hold jewelry in a completely different regard. Like they'll take care of it more, they'll put more meaning on it more. Like even if say like your boyfriend, I guess, would give you like a coat or a top, like somehow the jewelry would mean more. Like why do you think that is? Why do you think jewelry has so much meaning to it?
yeah, it's I'm still figuring that out, but I think like I'm because what's coming to mind right now for me is like a pearl necklace or a diamond necklace. And yes, a lot of people have diamond necklaces, even from the same brand. But I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe it's the where it goes that feels very personal. Um, I
Mm.
feel
That's a good
being on my
point.
ears or being around my neck. It feels very personal, that placement. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I also think that sometimes clothes like yeah, clothes are sometimes wishy-washy. They may look good on one person, they don't look good on you, or there's a
Mm.
lot of components to clothing, whereas jewelry, I feel like, there's it can really be it can work. Like I think for the most part it can always work. And that may
Yeah.
also be why it feels like special. Is like um, yeah, I know that this piece of jewelry it's going to work for me no matter about what else is going on with me visually or anything. I know that this necklace can
Mhm.
work, earring can work, even if you don't
Yeah.
have your ears pierced, you can do a clip on. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, that's a hard question because it feels like it's been like that
No, I
forever.
No, you're so right. And I feel like you answered it beautifully. And something I never considered was the proximity to like this part of you, which I even think has become more important, especially since the pandemic. We've all gone remote, like we've gone all hybrid, and like this is important. Like I'm wearing joggers right now. I don't know, like you can't see that, but you can see this and my jewelry. And yeah, that's something so important. Like, for example, like I guess, yeah, if a partner was to give me like a bag, that's something that is not as in this kind of area. Maybe there's a scientific explanation for this area. Like I think then that's a really crucial point. Maybe this is the area people pay most attention to. So it's like the first, because first impressions, they take place in point 10 seconds. So maybe this is why this area is so crucial. And like maybe hands and jewelry as well, like we speak like this. I think that's a great point. And like you said as well, like different to clothes, jewelry doesn't follow that same kind of harsh trend cycle. Do you know what I mean? Like you said, like you wore your family's jewelry. I steal a lot of my mom's jewelry from when she had like in the 70s and 80s, 90s, like, and I still wear them, and they work, you know. Like sometimes, like you said, someone's outfit might not look for you, but it's more than likely their jewelry that you wear, like you could rock it, but it would mean something so different when you're wearing it. So yeah, you did answer that super well, and you've given me, and I'm sure people listening, a lot of food for thought. That's so exciting. Can you tell us a bit more about like what's coming up next in your work, any new collections, things that people should be looking out for aside from the Big Just Energy earring collaboration?
Yeah. I do I have any upcoming? I'm in a place right now where I just kind of want to like build my community. And I want to
Yes.
get back to the meaning behind the jewelry. And I'm
Hmm.
hoping to expand beyond earrings. So that's another thing that's coming up. I
Great.
after all, I feel like I'm a designer, not just a jewelry designer, and not just an earring designer. I love designing in general.
Mhm.
But I can say I think I am moving in direction of wanting to do more do more for the people who wear my jewelry or are gonna wear my jewelry. So I think you can expect a lot more community like oriented things coming forth. Because I really do want to, build I want to build a community that's like, yeah, we're supporting each other, we're helping each other feel confident, and of course the product will always be there, but I just want to make sure that the meaning for why I started is always threading through. So yeah, I mean, these are my most recent collection. I'm probably going to
Mhm.
expand the coloring of this, and also for the boomerang
Yes.
studs. But certainly, the ones that you were wearing are going to be special and unique. So yeah,
Yes.
but, yeah, but I think that's what's coming next for Collection by Rin.
And I love that. And you talk more about the meaning in an amazing article that we're working on you with, that's going to be live on fashionisspsychology.com. If you want to get deeper into the psychology of jewelry with Corinne, then make sure you check that out. And just to wrap up, Corinne, can you tell us a bit more about where we can find out more about you, follow your journey, and of course, where we can buy these amazing Collection by Rin pieces?
Yes, so the website is www.collectionbyrin.shop, and we are open to international shipping. So anywhere that you're watching this, you can order in most countries. And yeah, you can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok. On Instagram, it's
Mhm.
collection underscore by underscore Rin. But yeah, you can just search collection by Rin and you'll find us. And that's most of where I keep, updates on the journey, on earrings, also kind of where I'm building the community. But yeah, and then you can also follow us on our newsletter. That's always great to have you there. But yeah, just feel free to DM or email. Everything should be
Mhm.
pretty much in my Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can vouch that Corinne's customer service is top notch. There's so much on the website that I was like, oh my God, I want this, I want this, I want this. And international shipping, hearing about that is going to be so exciting, I'm sure, for our listeners. I love this one. I think it was cute, short and sweet. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Big Dress Energy podcast. Please look out for this competition. You can get your own unique pair for free of your Collection Byron earrings with your Big Dress Energy signature look. Make sure you check out the platform, fashionistpsychology.com. And as you know, we have our brand new course, which talks all about the psychology of fashion. It's for new students, psychology students, fashion students, marketers, stylists, anybody that wants to understand the deeper meaning behind style, how to communicate that effectively to your clients, to your fellow businesses, to your audiences. If you want to learn more, fashionisspsychology.com/courses. You can also follow us on Instagram, Fashion is Psychology, and me at Shakaila Elise. Thank you so much. And please stick around next week for our new episode. Corinne, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. This is actually the second time Corinne and I are trying to record this podcast, but we made it. We made it, girl. Yeah.
Thank
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.